Welcome into a brand new edition of WarUp on the WPIAL. Greg Warnock alongside Jeff Upson. We got a jam-packed show for you to recap the PIAA Championships that happened this past weekend, both in AAA and in AA. And we also have quite a few WPIAL State Champions, and we're going to talk to them all. So bear with us. We could see some technical difficulties. We're going to try our best to get the wrestlers on in a orderly fashion, I guess you could say, with their weight classes, but hopefully we can make all that happen. So, Jeff, I guess first and foremost, before we dive into the brackets, had to be a little different for you this year, watching online as opposed to being in the Giant Center.
Oh my gosh, it was a lot different for me personally and professionally. So yeah, it was weird, but I got to spend some time with my son and help out my wife, and it was the first time I missed it since like 2011 ish, and before that I think I had gone to every state tournament since like 94, 95, something like that. So yeah, it was definitely a weird feeling, but I got to see the other side of things and watch it from like I guess a viewer, a fan standpoint, as opposed to being down on the floor, having access to wrestlers and all those things. So definitely weird, but probably that'll be the last time in a long time before I'm watching it from home.
Well, let's kick things off in AAA at 106 pounds. Tyler Chappell of Seneca Valley ends up dropping a decision in the semifinals to Caden Williams of Manheim Township in the tiebreaker, and Williams goes on to win the state title. I just felt like that was your finals match, Chappell Williams, and it was definitely a good one. Chappell battles back to place third place. Great season overall for Tyler Chappell. I'm sure a little bit disappointing because he wanted that gold, but overall great season for him.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there, and that probably was the final on paper at least. Those guys were ranked 2 and 3 coming into the tournament, and Caden Williams just he wrestled really well. He had a good opening round match and then had that tiebreaker win. And we talked about it before with Tyler Chappell. It's like he always finds ways, but that just that matchup is a tough matchup for him. Caden Williams is a very, very solid wrestler for a freshman. What I liked about Tyler Chappell was he wrestled back to third, but en route to that third place finish, he beat the number one guy in the state, Carson Wagner of Northampton, who was a returning state place winner from last year. So they were 1 and 2 in the state, and Chappell was able to beat him in overtime 2-0, and then get another win over Dom Flatt from Solenko. So yeah, it disappointing, but hey, he's got a couple more years left, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. 113 pounds, probably the biggest surprise. Vinnie Kilkiri of Latrobe does not make it to the finals. He ends up finishing in third place, and then in fourth place was Troy Homan of Penn Trafford. But let's kind of rewind things first. The biggest surprise happened to be Caden Williams' brother, Camden Williams, missing weight to start the tournament. That was the biggest news out of the opening session in AAA. He was the favorite, you could say, him, and everybody was expecting that rematch of him versus Kilkiri. He does not make weight, so that creates a 7-man bracket. Then you get into the semifinals. Kilkiri wrestling Jack Russo from Delaware Valley. Jack Russo with a 3-2 win. And I got to tell you, Jeff, I watched that match. Well, I didn't have the call of that match, but I had my eyes on it. Kilkiri for over a minute had him backing up. Attack. He gets hit. Jack Russo gets hit with one stalling call. He, if you didn't see the match, I mean, he calls for an injury time. Then he had to fix his headgear to get his mask that he wasn't wearing corrected. The coach for Delaware Valley went to defend a stalling call, which is beyond me. All those kind of stoppages, and then on top of that, stalling for over a minute, only getting hit once. It was bizarre because Kilkiri, in my opinion, deserved at least an overtime to see who was the best wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, if when you recap it and you look at it, clearly, Jack Russo had a game plan, right? He got that takedown, and basically that was it for him. I talked to a lot of people about this match, and Kilkiri, you can't leave it up to the ref. You can't leave it in the ref's hands. He was pushing him around the mat, but he wasn't getting to his attacks. I think he was banking on that final stall call, which never came. And I agree with you, Greg. That stall call should have been called. I put it into overtime. Let's get it to a point where it's 3-3. Now let's see who can get the takedown to win it. I agree with you. It should have went to an overtime, sudden victory, 1 minute. But if you're a wrestler and you're returning state champion, you cannot be in that position where you let it up to the ref. You got to get to your attack. You got to find a way to score. He was pushing the action, but he was kind of pushing, not necessarily shooting, right? So, I mean, it was hard to watch. I mean, as a guy who, is a returning state champion. And, Jack Russo, though, he got the takedown. And he did what he had to do to get a win. It wasn't pretty, what you said with the injury time and the mask fixing, and we've seen it before in Hershey. But that one stings for those WPIAL fans for sure.
Kilkiri did a nice job battling back for third, and a great tournament overall for Troy Homan as well to finish in fourth.
Yeah, I thought Troy Homan had a great tournament. He loses to Jack Russo 6-3 in that opening quarterfinal round match, but battles back. He wins 2 matches in sudden victory. Beats Mason Ziegler from Quakertown, a freshman, beats him 5-3 in sudden victory, and then beats Cale McIntyre from Becca 2-0 in sudden victory, and then makes it to that matchup with Vinnie Kilkiri, which we've seen multiple times this year. But Troy Homan, I thought, wrestled really, really well.
120 pounds, your champion Mac Church from Waynesburg gets the state title with a 3-1 decision, a 1-0 decision, and a 2-1 decision in tiebreaker. Mac kept all his matches close, but did just enough to win a state title. Chad Ozias of Connellsville, he finished in 8th place here at 120. But how about the job by Mac Church?
And we talked about this before with Mac. He does keep matches close, but I feel like in watching his matches, he was in control of all those matches. I feel like he clearly the momentum was in his favor in those matches, although they're close. Now, he's not gonna be able to do that his whole career. He's gotta not, clam up and not get to his offense in those. You can't expect to win 1-0, 2-1 in tiebreaker every single time, especially against high level kids. It's just not gonna. That's not going to pan out, and I think we saw that years ago with Alejandro, when he was down at 106 and 113. I remember seeing him at Ironman and some of the bigger tournaments like Powerade. He beat Kirk McHenry in a very tight match. Now we see him opening up more, and now he's getting into his offense more. I think Mac's got to follow that kind of same path where he's getting more to his offense, especially against high-level guys. Yes, he found a way to win, but, you want to put points on the board, right? So I'm sure he probably wasn't, totally thrilled with the way he wrestled in the finals, coming down to tiebreaker. But hey, he got his hand raised. He got the state championship, and it's well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I would have told you, Jeff, hey, Mac Church is going to put up 6 points in the state championships, does he win a gold? You would have told me no. Probably, I mean, I think most people probably would have said that, but he like you said, he does do enough to win. And I agree with you. I think the big thing is on his feet, he keeps a lot of distance between himself and his opponent, to the point where it's tough for his opponent to score on, but it also makes it tough for him to get the right shots he needs as well. So we're going to actually have Mac join us here a little bit later on. Had a couple of things he had going on here this evening, so we'll get Mac on the show here in just a little bit. But, congratulations to Mac, the first AAA wrestler to win a state title. 126, we thought we'd have one. We have 2 returning state champions, Ethan Bergen as well as Carter Dybert, but neither one gets the gold. Tyler Kasak of Bethlehem Catholic, he is your state champion, beats Carter Dybert 3-2. We also thought we may see a Dybert-Bergen rematch, but that doesn't happen either. Dominic Findora beats Bergen 5-4, and Bergen comes all the way back for 3rd place, including avenging losses to Luke Simcox as well as Findora to get 3rd. And for Dybert, just falls just short by losing that match against Kasak.
Yeah, and that was probably one of my favorite finals matches, was the Tyler Kasak and Carter Dybert match. And you go back and watch it; it was a very well, wrestled match on both parts. There were some good scrambles, good flurries there. Tyler Kasak is the real deal. There's nothing to hang your hat on and say, hang your head down for Carter losing to Tyler Kasak. Kasak this summer had some very big results. He beat some nationally renowned wrestlers in the off season. He's been wrestling all season, but Carter just, he came up short. And he was in that match. It was a good match, but unfortunately he wasn't able to break through and beat Tyler. And it's interesting with Ethan Bergnick, because he loses that tough match to Dom Findora. But then he's able to like you said, upset, or not upset, but avenge 2 of those losses, including that one to Fedora, but that one from last week against freshman Luke Simcox. I think that was it's very easy to overlook those paths to that third place finish. But I thought Ethan Berg had a great end to his career. And, at the end of the day, the WPIAL went 2-3 here in a very deep weight class. I mean, Kasak and Carter Dybert were both guys that were, nationally ranked coming into this tournament. So, again, nothing to be ashamed of there, losing to Tyler Kasak.
No, he's an outstanding wrestler, and you look at it seems like Dybert has that Bethlehem Catholic monkey on his back, right? It's just the struggle to beat those guys, but Kasak just such an outstanding wrestler to be able to take Dybert to his limits and get the win. 132 pounds. The champion is from Hempfield, Briar Priest. He lost the last 2 weeks to Dylan Chappell of Seneca Valley, but he's able to avenge those 2 losses, winning when it mattered most in the state title, a 6-0 win. Dylan Chappell had a tough one against Jude Swisher, got the reversal late to win the takedown late to win 2-1 over Swisher. And also in the same weight class, Colton Stone King, he finishes in 5th place after a loss to Nate Lucier. He ended up dropping to the consolations, a win over Kelly Kakos, and then a loss to Jude Swisher before beating Matt Mayer for 5th place. So the WPIAL here goes 1, 2, and 5. Got to be so happy for Briar Priest to be able to get that title. At the same time, you got to feel awful for Dylan Chappell, 3rd straight 2nd place finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, you're being torn in 2 different ways because, Dylan's a kid that we've watched wrestle throughout, 4 years and had his ups and downs, right? He was a guy who was behind Allie in the lineup and had to wrestle up, and then he, has a great sophomore and junior season. He's going to the state finals. He's winning that Super 32. He's doing all these things, and you hate to see. I mean, that's got to be gut wrenching, him finishing in the state finals, 3 times now as the runner-up. And if you would have told me at the end of last year, hey, Briar Priest, who just finished his sophomore year at 106, didn't make it to the state tournament, if you would have told me that he was going to be your state champion in AAA at 132 pounds, I would have said you're crazy. That's just that's not even in the realm of possibilities. And now all of a sudden, he goes up from 106 to 132. Not only does he, avenge 2 of those losses to Dylan Chappell, but he earns a state title, up how many weight classes. And, Briar just, man, he turned it on at the right time. And I've been saying it all year, probably the most improved wrestler of the entire state tournament, I believe, is probably Briar Priest, from going to not making it to the state tournament, being so close with Vinnie Kilkiri last year, and then coming away with a state title at 132 pounds against a guy who was, I wouldn't say a clear favorite. He was a favorite, right? Jude Swisher was right there with him. Nathan Lucier was right there. Matt Mayer was there. But, man, Briar Priest, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I mean, you look at him as well. He's probably underrated throughout the entire postseason. It's like, hey, well, you got Dylan Chappell. Hey, well, you have Colton Stone King there. Well, then you get to the super region, right? Well, you got Jude Swisher there. So I just feel like at the end of the day, he was a little bit underrated. Maybe people didn't know what to expect from him, but he showed how good he can be. And let's see if we can grab Briar Priest on now to chat with us for a couple of minutes. Briar was going to be helping out the younger folks today for practice.
A lot of these, a lot of these kids that we're getting, they're practicing already. They're doing all kinds of things, and there's no rest for these champions. That's for sure.
That's right, absolutely. Briar, are you available and joining us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Look at that.
Well, hey, Briar, first and foremost, congratulations on winning a state title. Has it sunk in yet?
It's sunk in, but I feel like not completely.
Well, talk us through a little bit. You're, getting to the point of the state championships. Yeah, we were just talking about, I felt like every week you were kind of a little bit underrated, right? I mean, you had Dylan Chappell in your weight class. You had at WPIAL, you had Colton Stone King. You had Nate Roth. Then you get into the super regions. You had Jude Swisher to the mix. It just seemed like you weren't the guy that was talked about, but every week you just kept showing up and just doing a great job. So just talk a little bit about what it was like on your end.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was underrated in every bracket because of like the following years. I I never made the states. I was wrestling against state runner-ups and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like wrestling everyone in the brackets, like wrestling Dylan Chappell gave me confidence to the next one. Only losing by 2 in the first one definitely changed my mind of how the way I think about myself.
And then obviously getting that win over Dylan Chappell. You lost to him the previous 2 weeks. What did you take from those 2 losses to get to the point to beat him this week?
Definitely my pace and my work ethic. I felt like I could really push the pace in the match, and it changed the outcome in the final one.
And then looking at last season to now, you were 106 pounds last year. Now you're all the way up to 132 pounds. So such a huge jump. And we were just talking about how it's so hard to believe, you know, you went from 106 to 132. But was it pretty difficult going from making that big jump?
I thought it was really going to affect me, and I wasn't even going to compete on any high level. But it wasn't difficult at first. And then, I don't know, I gained so much weight so fast. So I don't know. It wasn't too bad.
And
well,
you know,
and then
Briar, talk about just the fact that last year, like you said, wrestling state runner-ups, you wrestled Vinnie Kilkiri a whole bunch of times, and you know, watching him win a state title, did that plant it in your head like, hey, I am that good, I am right there with him, you know, I can be a state champion, albeit you jumped up a few weight classes, but you know, did that, watching Vinnie win a state title, knowing that you had beat him multiple times that year, did that kind of say, hey, you know what, I can be a state champion?
Oh yeah, for sure. After wrestling him so many times and being victorious 3 or 4 times, watching him win states was kind of mind-blowing for me, because I figured if he could do it, then I could have definitely done it too.
Well, Briar, congratulations on winning a state title. Just absolutely awesome that you're able to get that championship, and we look forward to seeing you defend that next year. You got one more season.
You won't be under the radar next year, Briar. You're not right. You're not going to come into any bracket underrated this next year. That's for sure. There's going to be a bullseye on you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, congratulations, and thanks for joining us, Briar.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Briar.
Bye.
Briar Priest, kind enough to join us. And moving on now to 138 pounds. Jeff, you froze on me there for a second. I got a little nervous. I was like, oh, man, are we actually still on?
I'm here, man. I'm good. I'm ready. I'm locked in, man. I told my wife, I said, this is going to be a 2-hour show. You better get the baby, figured out, because we've got 11 champions to talk about. I feel like every year it's like the number just gets higher and higher.
And here's the scary thing, right? I mean, we could have had a couple more in AA and a couple more in AAA. He maxed out, doesn't wrestle at all, so he was a favorite going in. But then you had Kilkiri, you have Dybert. I mean, you had a couple others that could have been in the mix too. So WPIAL still with a great showing with 11. Moving on to 138, absolutely outstanding performance by the WPIAL. Finn Solomon of Franklin Regional. He's your champion. Cole Hammett of Waynesburg, he finishes second. Dylan Evans of Chartiers Valley finishes in fourth. Evans has the upset of the first round, beating Kyle Hosserman of Council Rock North 3-1 in overtime. Evans just looks so strong and confident in that match. He wrestles Hammett for the third time this postseason. Hammett beats him 5-1 to get to the finals, where Solomon, who had 2 shutouts to get to the finals, rematch there for the third time this postseason, and this time Solomon gets the win 7-5 in what was a back-and-forth match.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a back-and-forth match. We saw the week prior at the West Super Region, we saw Finn Solomon win 12-1, and it was kind of a lopsided win, right? And you're looking at that, you're like, that's not a true indication of where these guys are at. Having Cole Hammett had that win over Finn Solomon the week prior at the Southwest region, so you knew that this one was going to come down to the wire, and it certainly did. This one was back and forth. It was a really good, highly contested match. I felt like Finn was the favorite, but you just knew Cole was going to push it to the limit, and it didn't let down for sure. And I thought Dylan Evans wrestled absolutely incredible, and he does end up losing to Hauserman in that third and fourth place match, but to knock him out into that quarterfinals, he looked great. I mean, he did not look like a sophomore against a senior. He looked phenomenal. And like you said, he pushed the pace. He looked in control. I was very impressed with Dylan Evans.
These were 3 of throughout the entire postseason, 3 of my favorite guys to watch. I mean, they were just so much fun. They put up points. They're always active. And guess what? We get to see them all again next year. Evan's only a sophomore, Hammett and Solomon both juniors.
Right. Yeah, that's the fun part is that, you look at the future here of the WPIAL, and we were talking about this last night on the Classic, when we're talking about picking the teams, and it's like we got 3 really good underclassmen, here at 138 pounds, and it's going to be fun watching these guys. And Finn, this was his second time in the state final, so he had been there, but after last year, you have to wonder, and you're saying like, okay, like is he where he needs to be? And he showed it, this past weekend that he was ready to go, and I was excited to see the WPIAL do as well as they did here at 138 pounds.
Let's see if we can add Finn on to the call to talk a little bit about his championship victory, and after last year and everything that happened, being able to get that gold medal, I'm sure very rewarding for him.
Says he's unavailable. He must be getting a workout in.
I just texted him, said he was available.
I can try him again here. I mean, while we're waiting for Finn to join in, though, I mean, you talk about a kid who, last year, that heartbreak. You beat Curtis Phipps in the sectional tournament, who is the number 1 guy in the state. Then you come back, you lose to him. You get pinned by him in the first period. Then you come back, you lose to a guy who, on paper, you should have beat, right, with Zach Ray from Hampton. And then you are unable to make it out of the regional tournament. That's a huge, when you talk about the mental aspect of it, that's a huge challenge to get over, especially the next year. And Finn found a way to, to put it all together and, earn himself his first state championship. I was very impressed with him. And I was also impressed with Cole Hammett getting some tight wins over Dom Frontino of Shippensburg. He beat him 8-1. And then Chandler Ho of Du Bois, he beat him 2-1. So those are 2 tough guys, and he was able to come out on top of that. So
Finn said he hears a ringing, but it's not letting him answer.
I don't know what to tell him. We'll try on the break to fix that, but let's go up to 145 pounds, Greg, until we figure it out.
Wyatt Henson of Waynesburg came in as the favorite at this weight class, and when you look at how it started against Dagan Condomiti, it was like, what is going on? Wyatt just didn't look like himself those first 2 periods, and a part of me got to thinking, is he a little bit nervous, because of how it ended with Altieri last week? He doesn't want to go in and, just attack, and then end up in that situation where he's unable to, finish his shots. As I see now, Finn Solomon looks like he's joining us. Finn, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can't see you, but we can hear you.
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
All right, let me try to turn that on. It says it's on. Whew.
Oh, unless you're like in a dark. Oh, there he is. Oh, look at that. You just got a workout in, didn't you, Finn?
Actually a little bit on the bike.
I figured.
Yeah.
Well, Finn, congratulations on your state championship. Before we talk about this season, talk a little bit about last season. Jeff was just mentioning how, you came in, you had beaten Curtis Phipps, and then, he ends up getting the fall on you, and you fall into the consolations. You had that loss to Zach Wright. Just talk about what it was like to go from that moment to right now, and, just everything that happened in between for you.
It was kind of just, I guess, really hurt. Of course, it's just tough. It was just tough, like losing on your own. That's how tough wrestling is. You're going out there on the mat alone, and everyone's watching you and your opponent wrestle. So it really hurt deep down inside. I went down to the locker room after, and I was down there for 3 hours just thinking about the loss. And coach was trying to talk me through it. Nothing was really getting to me. I just couldn't get over it. And then my coach, Matt Levy, kind of said, it's not about what happens now. It's about what happens in the future and how you fight back. That's what makes the best wrestlers out of people and makes the best people. And that's kind of clicked in my mind. And I was like, he's like, you're going to remember this every workout you do, every little training, anything you do, every match, you're going to remember it. So it's kind of stuck in the back of my mind. I just put it there, and everything I did, I came back to it. I was like, I'm not doing that again. I worked too hard for this. So it really helped me, actually.
And obviously it helps you as well going from the WPIALs where you had that tough loss to Hammett and then coming back and just really opening up your offense in the super regions and carrying it over to the state championships. What kind of clicked for you to kind of get to that next level to be able to get those 2 victories?
Talking to my coach, and he goes, after the match, he said, what do you think you did wrong? And the first thing I said to him, like as soon as I got off the mat, I said, I didn't wrestle. I sat back and kind of waited for him to wrestle me instead of me wrestling him. I was kind of nervous to go out there and wrestle in the WPIAL finals. And then he just basically said, you just go out there and wrestle your style. It doesn't matter if you're going to win or lose. Just wrestle, open up. And I was more disappointed to me that I didn't wrestle than it was to lose. And he said, you'd rather lose going out there, giving it your all than sitting back and trying to win. So that's really what changed my mindset.
And Finn, when you looked at the state finals, because you had beat Cole, 12-1 the week prior, which was a great match, but you knew that probably, it was going to be a little bit tighter. I don't know. You had the feeling that it was going to be a little bit tighter. And it was kind of a back and forth match there, but you had been to the state finals before, right? As a freshman, you were in the finals. You were in the Giant Center where actual fans, and you were in an environment where it was like all eyes are on you. And now you're in a different environment where there's not a fans. There's a lot of eyeballs on you, but they're from a computer screen. First of all, what was the difference like in the 2 environments? Was it easier or harder for you to wrestle this year? And how much did that experience, as your freshman year, how much did that help you?
I think it helped a lot, actually, kind of just knowing that I've been there and knowing that I lost and it didn't ruin my life that I lost, that I can lose and still do great things. So kind of just going out there and knowing that. And the environment, I mean, honestly, I couldn't really tell a difference. I know the only thing I could really tell a difference was PIAA Champions was different,
yeah.
That was different, stuff like that. But it was all still a state finals match. It all still felt that surreal to me. So wasn't that big a difference. And I like to sit in the back with my headphones on and block out the fans before a match anyways. So it was different, but it wasn't too much. It all goes away as soon as the match starts.
Yeah, and you also had, so I thought this was kind of a neat tidbit, but 2 other NC State recruits win state titles, Jackson Arrington, 132 pounds in AA, and Joey Milano at 189 pounds in AAA. I know you're pretty pumped up to join the Wolfpack. We talked about it, when you were going to be in true power and committing to NC State. How much does that feel, like a weight's off your shoulder that where you're going and the decision's already been made and you feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we actually have a group chat with all the NC State recruits who are going there, and someone just texted in there and said that an NC State recruit who's committed in our class hasn't lost in states yet.
Wow.
No, the whole thing. So we're actually undefeated in states, which is amazing. And 3 PIAA State champs is, I don't know when that's happened. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it feels great. I know how good they are doing down there. They're just going to get better. The coaches are awesome. They're always there texting me, helping me out if I need anything. A bunch of guys at the Hidleys are texting me. It's awesome.
Well, congratulations, Finn, on winning a state title. Glad you're able to get to the top of the podium, and we look forward to seeing you come back for your senior season.
Thank you.
Thanks, Finn.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya. Finn Solomon, kind enough to join us. And going into 145, Jeff, we were kind of talking about Wyatt Henson and his slow start. So, he starts those first 2 periods. And again, to me, it felt like maybe he's a little timid because of everything that happened with Altieri the previous week. But he was down 7-1 at one point. And then he comes back to tie the match at 9. And then after tying the match, gets the takedown in overtime to win 11-9. And then he got a good start against McMonagle, but it seemed like he let go off the gas a little bit. McMonagle starts to come back. He ends up winning 7-4. All this, meanwhile, while Ty Linsenbigler had a loss to McMonagle in the quarters, John Altieri, he had a tough one against Connor Eck, a back and forth match where Altieri finally ends up getting the win. 8-7, and then Henson and Altieri do battle in the finals. Henson wins at 5-3. Altieri finishes in second. Ty Linzenbigler in third. He avenges after that opening loss. He gets 3 straight wins, including avenging his loss on McMonagle. So a great showing here at 145.
Yeah, so I would agree with you when watching that Condomiti Henson match. And, you know, the nice part about having no fans there is you can hear the coaches, and you could hear Sammy Henson, you know, coaching Wyatt up. And it was great to hear him say, you know, the things that he was saying to Wyatt to really motivate him. It was like, you got this, you know, just stick to your offense, it's going to come. And, you know, you saw him slowly chip away. He didn't look panicked, but I agree with you. Wyatt didn't look like Wyatt Henson. You know, we're so used to him just, you know, going out, attacking. You know, we saw it in the Powerade finals against Chan Shear. And I don't know, maybe it was the you know, after being disqualified in the, you know, previous weekend, maybe it was he was thinking, hey, I'm going to walk through this. You beat Sammy Hilligus in the state finals a year prior. You got to think I'm a lock to win it next year, right? No one's going to touch me. And I liked what he said afterwards, you know, when he talked about the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, and he kind of let the cat out of the bag, but he's going to be wrestling Shane Van Ness of Blair Academy at 145 pounds. And, you know, he kind of said, like, I can't wrestle like that and beat Van Ness. Like, it's just not, he's too good of a wrestler. He's a Penn State recruit and an Iowa recruit. You know, like these guys are going to be seeing each other for years. So, like, you know, it probably was good for him to be pushed as hard as he was, but I would agree with you. In that first match, you're saying, okay, the rust is off. But then that McMonagle match, you know, he kind of let him come back a little bit. So I think this weekend was probably good for him mentally because he didn't just blow through it. It was probably good for him and his training just moving forward.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. John Altieri, meanwhile, we mentioned having finishing in second place, a strong showing for Altieri as well. Just a great showing overall by WPIAL here.
Yeah, and, you know, it's interesting because you had mentioned about Ty Linzenbigler. You know, him and Ethan Burnett kind of followed the same paths here, you know, losing in that first round to guys that, you know, not necessarily saying that they should have beat, but, you know, they were probably favored in those matches. And Linzenbigler comes back and, you know, he has that 3-2 tiebreaker victory to take third. That's got to feel pretty good for him. It's his highest finish at the state tournament. You know, he had been 5th and 4th before, so, like, it definitely felt good for him to kind of get that, you know, that strong finish to end his career, I'm sure.
We'll see if we can get Wyatt Henson to join us to talk about his state championship. And again, he's headed to Iowa to continue his wrestling career.
What's up?
Hey, Wyatt, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Well, Wyatt, congratulations on winning a state championship. How does the second one feel compared to the first? PA, I should say.
Awesome. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of equal. I didn't feel too well at this state tournament, so I had to push through it.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about your opening match, and, you know, you dropped 7-1 early before coming back. We thought it may have just been because of everything that happened the previous week with Altieri, you know, maybe a little bit timid to go out and just get to your offense and start attacking. But was it just an illness then that was kind of got that slow start for you?
No, I think I was just I didn't get started right enough. I didn't get a good warm up, a good enough warm up like I should, and I think I've just got a slow start.
Okay, and then obviously in the once you kind of got down 7-1, what was going through your head? You know, as you got, it was late in the second period, down 7-1. You know, what was going through your mind, and what were the coaches telling you?
I just focused on getting one position at a time and getting to my tacks and finishing clean. And my dad said he also said get better position and stop reaching with my right hand. And then he stopped getting to my leg, and I got to my double.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny, Wyatt, because we were talking earlier, and without having fans there, you could really hear the coaches, and I kept on hearing your dad saying, you know, like, you know, almost calming you down and saying, like, it's going to come, like, you're okay, don't panic, and it kind of showed because you never really, I mean, you probably were inside, but outside it didn't look like you were panicking. You were like, hey, I can do this, I can come back from this, I've scored, you know, how many points in a short period of time against much, you know, high-level kids before, I can do it again. Was that kind of what you were thinking? Like, hey, don't panic, I got this.
Yeah. Yeah, that my dad's kind of got that in my head. Like, I don't need to panic most of my matches because my matches are usually high scoring, because of my offense. So yeah.
And I liked what you said afterwards about, wrestling Shane Van Ness at the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, and you said, look, I can't wrestle like I did in the state tournament this year and expect to beat Van Ness. That's, and I said it probably is a blessing in disguise because this is gonna, had you walk through the tournament without really giving up any points or anything, it, maybe the training's not as focused in, dialed in, but going forward, like, hey, if I want to beat Shane Van Ness and probably the highlight match of the classic, it's like, hey, I gotta score more points, I gotta be better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely opened my eyes wider. Yeah, because he's good, man, and if I wrestle like that, it's not gonna happen.
Well, Wyatt, congratulations on winning a state championship. You're second in PA, you're third overall. It's been a lot of fun watching you this season and all throughout your high school career, and we look forward to seeing you a couple more times. You still got the team state championships as well as the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic still to come.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Wyatt. Wyatt Henson of Wayne's. And now we'll move to 152 pounds. Again, another strong showing by the WPIAL. Alejandra Herrera Rondon, the outstanding wrestler of the tournament. He wins his third state title, finishing in first place. Rocco Welsh of Waynesburg finishing in second. Jared Kessler of Connellsville finishing in fourth place. Boy, first of all, Rocco Welsh, a tight one in the quarterfinals, a 2-1 win over Chase Barlow of Strathaven. I think there were about 3 or 4 different times where I thought he had a takedown and he didn't get awarded the takedown, but he ends up getting the win. And what an exciting match in the semifinals. Welsh and Kessler, they go to overtime before Welsh ends up getting the victory. And how about AHR, though? A 5-2 win over Pinero Johnson. And really that 5-2 win, he gave up those 2 points late when the match was over. He dominated Pinero Johnson. And then he goes out on the mat against Rocco, looks cool, calm, collective, picks up a 3-1 win. I just felt like he just kept getting stronger and stronger as the postseason went on.
Yeah, I mean, he was like a tsunami wave coming at you. It's like it's coming, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop it. He was wrestling so well, and I agree with you. That match with Pinero Johnson was not nearly as close as the score would indicate, a 5-2 match. He was dominant in that match. Let's talk about Rocco Welsh and Jared Kessler for a second. First, Rocco against Chase Barlow, I agree with you. That ref missed at least 3 takedowns. He almost had that match taken from him, unfortunately. Yep. And, luckily he didn't because, unfortunately for Chase Barlow, the better wrestler won here. Rocco Welsh was clearly the better wrestler. But in that match against Jared Kessler, Rocco took his headgear off. He thought he lost, going into that final, kind of flurry that they had there. He thought he lost. I don't know if I've ever done that before where, you think you lose and you actually look at the scoreboard right away, it's tied, and put your headgear back on, get back into, your mindset. And he found a way to get a takedown against a very, very tough Jared Kessler. These 3 guys, I could watch them wrestle, every week and be entertained. And, Rocco and Allie, it's just, it's almost reminiscent of last year with Curtis Phipps and Rocco Welsh. Those guys wrestled a bunch of times last year, and you just felt like, all right, the senior and the freshman, he's kind of paving the way for him. And now you got the senior and the sophomore. There's not many more people that are going to be standing in Rocco Welsh's way. He is the next, he's the next star. He is the next guy up. And but Allie, what is there to say about Allie other than the fact that he won 3 very tough state titles in his career, and I think he is so much more improved than he was his freshman year. It's almost night and day for me in watching him wrestle. He went from a guy who couldn't even score a point, an offensive point, to win a state title. If you go back and you watch it, he didn't score an offensive point, to now he's just lighting up scoreboards. He's grown into his body. I mean, AHR is going to be a threat on the national level, and when he goes to Oklahoma, I really do believe that. He's just been wrestling so well, and I think he's only going to get better as time goes on.
And let's see if we can grab him on the phone. It's been outstanding to watch him his entire career, by the way. I've just absolutely loved watching him. And like you mentioned, just kind of grow, right, from 106 to where he is right now, 152. He's been absolutely outstanding throughout his entire career, and kind enough to join us now, Alejandra Herrera Rondon. Ali, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Well, congratulations. 3 state titles, Outstanding Wrestler Award. Has it all sunk in for you?
Not really. It's kind of hard to believe that it's already over. It's a little difficult to actually know that I won't be able to actually, be under with you guys and go to another surge tournament. And, it's going to, I'm just glad that, I was able to be part of this, and, I'm just grateful.
Well, you're always welcome anytime you want to crash the party on our show. You give us a call. We'd love to have you on. So
let me know. I'll be on.
But we were just so impressed with your entire season, Ali, and throughout the entire postseason, it just seemed like you just consistently kept getting stronger and just more confident and just really more dominant in a lot of ways. In those last couple of weeks, did you feel that as well? Just kind of your confidence just continually building up.
Yeah, honestly, like in the beginning of the year, I had confidence, but like I was a little skeptical because I just went up to 152 and I was just like, you know what, I don't really know what to expect, but I'm assuming it's gonna probably be like somewhere like last year, so I can't have the same mindset like I did last year and just just dive in there and just swim with the fishes and see how it goes. But at first, like when I started winning and winning, like, sometimes people get like start thinking about the wins and people start thinking about losing. And, I don't know why, but for me, it wasn't like that. It was just about keep winning. It was just about, just having fun. Honestly, I didn't even care about my undefeated season. Like all I wanted was that state title. And the fact that, I got that state title and looking back at it, that I did have an undefeated season, it's, it's even sweeter to know that like, I just did that without taking a loss, and I don't think I've ever had an undefeated season before. So, it's actually great to know, and it's just with my whole family behind me, and my dad. Even when my dad reminds, like, you go to the state tournament, you're undefeated. I'm like, don't shut up. Stop talking about it. I just wanted to win a state title. That was really about it.
Yeah, and obviously you did you had a fantastic season. You talked about last year and going from 132 to 152. Did you take a lot of lessons learned from not being able to get that state title last year to this year?
Yeah, because I knew I could have got a state title last year. I could have won a third straight state title, but I was in my head too much, and I think that's. But like I don't change any of that because I needed that. I needed it to. I need that in my head that like I can compete with these guys, and if I'm in the right mindset, then I can compete. I can beat anyone in the country. And, just the fact that I looked at that and I'd be like, I have no regrets. Like it was heartbreaking losing that semifinal match with everyone there. And, it hit me deep, and I never wanted that. I never want that to happen again. And that's really what I thought about the whole off season. And, I didn't really know what weight class I was going to be in before the season. And, depending on what it was, I didn't really care. I just wanted to be in strong mentally and, just take what's mine, really.
And Ali, think back to your transition 4 years ago, right? You're an undersized 106-pounder. I can remember, Greg and I had you on the phone. I'm like, we need to get like a parent's permission to talk to this kid. He's so small and tiny, and I'm like, I feel like I'm talking to a 12-year-old, and all of a sudden now you're a 152-pound man. Did you expect? I guess I don't know if this is the right word or not, but did you expect to see yourself, going from 106 as a freshman to now where you're a 152-pounder? You won your third state title. I mean, I know it's hard to predict, but man, like it's almost like surreal that you're now in that same, that position as compared to where you were a freshman year.
Yeah, I mean, my parents always made fun of me. He's like, because my mom was like, I think my first armpit hair was like after my sophomore year. She was
Right.
like, crazy about it. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I knew it was going to happen. I knew I was going to be a late bloomer. And, I just had to be confident in what I was doing. And, like, even looking back at it my freshman year, people thought I was 12 years old. And, like, even with that much adversity, like, I got to think about it. It's like, if I can win a state title, looking like how I was and how small I was, I can do anything, just because like it's going to be the same thing when I'm in college. I'm still going to be a little kid, but I gotta up my game. And, like I don't even think I'm done fully growing because, I think I'm supposed to grow, I think another inch or two. And, I'm already going to go back to the gym. I already went to the gym today, and I'm just ready to get back into it. So, it's fun to look at. I didn't know if I was going to be this big that fast, but especially from 113 to 32, I thought I was going to be a 38, 45 pounder. The next thing you know, I got bigger, and then and the next thing you know, just take advantage and just roll with the punches, I guess.
And I don't care if you come back and you're a 197 pounder in college at Oklahoma, you take over for Jake Woodley, you're still going to do well. You're still going to be an All-American, maybe even national champion. So I don't care what happens. It's crazy to see, the transition like you went through. And, it's just been a pleasure covering you, Allie. You've been a great supporter of PA Power. And, we're sad to see you go, but we're still going to be around. Don't you worry. All right.
Great. Thanks for having me back, guys. It's awesome always to talk to you guys.
And we're going to see you at the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic as well. You're going to be able to end your career, potentially on a big.
I think I'm wrestling Victor Voinovich, which is amazing because after winning my third state title, I get a shot at the number one guy. So that's always that's the best thing I could look at right now. Just in the next couple of weeks, I get to go for the top crown, which is amazing. And I think I can win that match. I'm right there with everyone. I think my mat IQ is higher than anyone else, and I think I can beat anyone in the country with that. So,
well, we're gonna find out April 2nd, man. Can't wait to see you there, and looking forward to it. All right.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Allie.
Have a good one.
AHR kind enough to join us. I love talking to him.
I know.
Could talk to him all day.
There's some wrestlers that you're just sad to see go, graduate. I remember, being at the Classic and Cole Matthews and Sammy Sasso. I'm like, damn, I'm going to miss you guys. They were just so much fun to have. And, there's always those guys. And, AHR is one of those guys. He's just, and I tweeted this out the other day. I mean, he was in our inaugural Surge tournament. He was a 2-time Surge champion. He won 2 hammers. He was in our inaugural True Power event this past October where he won against Rocco Welsh of course, who else? And, he's been there a long ways with PA Power. So, he feels like a part of the team almost. So, we're going to be sad to see him go to Oklahoma, but, he'll be back.
Yeah, and he's joined us 3 times on the show after winning the state gold. Plus, in addition, a couple other interviews throughout the season. We had him on earlier this year, for example. So, we've probably had been able to interview him at least a half dozen times as well. He's one of the most polite wrestlers that I think I've ever talked to, and he's just a humble and just a great kid. So, really wish him the best of luck. Moving on to 160 pounds for the WPIAL, Cole Spencer of Pine Richland finishes in 3rd place, and Chase Kranitz of Norwin finishing in 5th place. Spencer had a tough loss in the semifinals to Jack McGill of Springford, 5-2, and Spencer and Kranitz actually wrestled in the consolations. Spencer able to get Kranitz onto his back and get the fall in the second period at 2:39 before going on to 3rd place. And Chase Kranitz comes back to finish 5th with an 11-9 win.
I would have loved to see a Cole Spencer and Jagger Condomini match in the finals because we saw how close Jack McGill was with Jagger, but that match with McGill was a tight match. And Spencer I thought wrestled well. It just was McGill just he wrestled a little bit better, and Kranitz for his effort, he wrestled Jagger Condomini tough in that first quarterfinal match. Condomini won 5-3, but Kranitz was pushing him for sure. And I looked at that Cole Spencer Chase Kranitz match, and I think that could have went either way. But talk about Cole Spencer, you were 4th last year, so kind of a similar. We look at his career, and he was 8th as a freshman. Almost like we talked about Finn Solomon. The next year, he doesn't make it out of the regional tournament. Comes back last year, takes 4th, 3rd this year. And I think when he goes to Penn and he's fully into wrestling as opposed to, he was a starting quarterback on Pine Richland where they won a state championship title. I think when he is fully invested in wrestling, man, I think we haven't seen the best of him quite yet. And here's another tidbit. His younger brother, Vaughn, is going to be even better. So he's going to be on our top incoming freshman. You'll be seeing him very soon, and he's going to have big shoes to fill, but I think he's going to fill them. So I can't wait to continue seeing Spencer's wrestle.
Will he be a lightweight or middleweight?
Probably a middleweight.
Just pretty similar to Cole then, because Cole came in around middleweight and kind of stayed there. I mean, he didn't grow too much, and he got up to 160, but I think he started right around 132, 138. Cole did.
Yeah, even I think it was 45 actually. His freshman year was 45, because he was with Bloomer and Ty McGeary and those guys. So yeah, I think he was 45. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, he's been a lot of fun to watch, throughout the entire career. All these guys are. I mean, let's be honest. But yeah, definitely wish we could have been able to see, him and Condomiti in the finals. But a good showing here for the WPIAL. Also at 172, where we had another champion, Luca Augustine of Waynesburg. He wins the title. Sammy Starr of Kiski finishes in 5th place. First, talk about Starr for a second. He got a 35-second fall, and it looked like, okay, this guy is on fire right now, especially after the Super Regions last week. And then he had the rematch with Trey Kibe. Kibe defeats Starr 4-2, and then Starr drops into the consolations where he dropped another decision to Lance Urbis before finishing strong with a fall in the 5th-place match. But you look at Augustine. He gets to the finals after a win over Dominic Falcone, and he and Kibe were 1-1, scores 1-1. Late in the 3rd period, Kibe tries to throw a headlock. Augustine able to duck his head under, gets the 2. Question for you, Jeff. Was it 2?
Oh, I think it was 2. Yeah. I mean, everyone's, there was questions on the call whether they're out of bounds or not. And, it's funny because everyone complains about, high school out of bounds. And we always say, like, we need to move towards college out of bounds. And, until it doesn't, fit our narrative. If you say, well, that wasn't 2. Well, yeah, I mean, in college, that's 2 all day. And in high school, I believe I thought it was 2. And Trey Kibe was, he's been in the state finals before. He knows what he's doing. And, he felt like, hey, I'm going to end this one here quick. I'm going to get a headlock. He saw an opportunity. He tried to take it. It didn't pan out. That's a risk reward, and the state finals doing a headlock. Luke Augustine took advantage of it, and he got the takedown, man. He was pumped up. His reaction was pretty epic. And, he's beating a guy who's a state champion. They're going to be ACC rivals. One's going to Virginia Tech, one's going to Pitt. Trey Kibe was a state champion previously. It was a match that we wanted to see at True Power. So yeah, I think, both these guys wrestled really well, and I think they could wrestle a bunch of other times, and it could be 5-5, if they wrestle 10 times. So, but overall, I thought Luca had a great tournament. Sammy Starr, on the other hand, I agree with you. I think that match with Trey Kibe maybe took a little bit out of him because, I thought he was better than Lance Urbis. When you look at, how Sammy wrestled, that fall in 35 seconds, loses a tight one to Kibe, but then, I thought he was going to beat Urbis. I thought he was going to take come back for 3rd or at least 4th with Dom Falcone. But, Sammy Starr, he finished his career with a state medal, something he's never done before. And from where he started, a 106, 113 pounder who wasn't winning a ton of matches for Kiski back when he was a freshman to end it at 172 as a state medalist, you got to be pretty happy with that. I think he is.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And I do. We'll see if we can get Luca Augustine on the show. His reaction was probably the best, I think, of anybody in AAA. I mean, his face and how excited he was. I just loved it. It was so awesome.
Yeah, it looked like it just looked like a guy who had been envisioning that moment for so many times and so many years and so many practices, and all of a sudden, his dream comes to reality. And as we say that, here he is. He popped up. Luca Augustine, kind enough to join us on the show here. Hey, Luca, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good, man. Has it sunk in yet that you are a PIAA State Champion, man?
Yeah, I mean, it feels awesome. I couldn't believe it at first, but it's just a good feeling.
Yeah, Greg and I were talking about the reaction, and your reaction was probably the best of all the champions. It was just like, it was so much emotion and so much just joy that you could see written all over your face. Explain that. What was that like? And if you can put it into words, what was that like?
I had no clue what to do because that ending flurry happened so fast. I just didn't know. Just whatever came to my mind, which was just run around in circles and scream.
Screaming, right? Screaming, flexing.
Luca, going back into that third period against Trey Kai, were you expecting him to hit that headlock or try for it?
I was not expecting it at all. Yeah.
And when it came to be and he started to throw that headlock, what was going through your mind, to end up getting that 2-point takedown?
Well, he shot that double leg in first, which that kind of stunned me. But I was able to pull him up into over and unders, and then when he threw that headlock, luckily I got my hips away real fast, and we kind of both hit the ground there. And once my head slipped out, I knew I had him. It was just whether we were out of bounds or not.
Right. Yeah, and you looked up at first, and you were like, it was like almost that confusion. Like, was it 2? Was it not 2? 2? Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the call. It was definitely, I don't know how to describe it.
And Luca, it's got to be like a cherry on the top here for you to win your career thus far. You've been close, right? You've been in the mix, but for you, how you've progressed through your career, your freshman year to now, I feel like every year you're just taking more, steps forward, and that's got to feel pretty good to finally, see that all come to fruition and end your career as a PIAA State champion.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about how your season overall, like how Jeff mentioned, just kind of your career progress throughout and how it feels to finally get that gold medal.
Well, last year I came so close. Like, I was in the semis against Clayton Ulry, had a real tight match, but never ended up breaking through that semi round. And that was just my main focus this year. Like, once I broke through the semis, I knew I was in it, and I had another chance at COD to redeem myself from the weekend before. And it's satisfying to know that, all my hard work that I did throughout my high school career paid off in the end.
And Luca, when you look at the West Super Region, which was a new thing this year, had we not had that, you probably wouldn't have seen Trey until the state tournament. Was it almost like a benefit for you to wrestle him a week prior at the West Super Region and get a feel? We knew that we were talking, earlier, you were supposed to wrestle him at True Power. That didn't pan out. But you got your hands on him in the West. Yeah, you take a loss, but it seemed like you knew, like, all right, these are the adjustments I need to make for that state tournament. So was it a benefit for you having wrestled him a week prior?
Most definitely. I mean, those 2 matches were completely different. The first match, I was definitely more aggressive in the first match, which didn't work out in the end because Cobb's positioning and his defense is just so good that it just plays right into his game. So I worked on it all week and changed up the game plan, and it worked out.
And the good thing is, Luca, you may get to see him for another 4 more years. ACC rivals.
I said to him when we were standing next to the podium, I said, "See you in the ACC."
That's incredible. Hey, congratulations, Luca, on winning a state title. It's been a lot of fun watching you throughout your high school career, and best of luck as you guys still have some wrestling to go. You got the team championships, and then from there you got the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic. So best of luck as you finish out the rest of the season.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Luca.
Thanks, Luca.
I'll see you.
Luca Augustine kind enough to join us, and we'll go into 189 pounds where the WPIAL. Well, I guess first and foremost, as if 113 pounds didn't provide enough, 189 pounds also provide an individual missing weight in this one, as Easton's wrestler at 189 pounds. Thank you. When Reinhardt ends up missing weight, Justin Hart of Hampton was his opponent. So Hart gets a forfeit into the semifinals, where then he faces Ethan Rossman of Bellefonte, where he dropped a loss to him the previous week. Hart avenges that loss to get into the finals with a 3-2 win before losing to eventual champion Joey Milano.
Yeah, interesting, turn of events here, right? Because, I mean, when I filled out the bracket, I'm thinking, okay, Hart's, I think Reinhardt's going to win that opening match against Hart. It's going to be a good match, I thought. Reinhardt doesn't make weight, so Hart, goes into the semifinals without having to strap him up. and then avenges that loss to Rossman, and he's in the state finals. It's like, oh my gosh, how did that happen, right? And it's
one win and you're in the state final.
Yeah, one win, you're in the state finals. But that's a credit to him. He had a he had a good super region, finishing third there. And look, this is a guy who's been to the state tournament 4 times in his career, right? So this was his first state medal, and he made it a pretty good one, getting to the state finals. Now, Joey Milano, he's on a different level. I was very impressed with Joey throughout the entire season. He avenges that loss that he had to Drew Cleary in the 3rd and 4th place match of last year. He gets a 6-4 win over him. Actually beat him the week prior as well in the East Super Region. Then gets a major decision over Justin Hart. He just looked on fire. So, Hart, nothing to be ashamed of there, man. He ran into a buzzsaw, but he think about his path, and sure, he benefited from not having Reinhardt there, but he made weight, and he wrestled, and he got the win. He could have lost to Rossman, who he had lost to the week prior, but he didn't. He avenged that loss, and he was in the state finals.
Yeah, great tournament, a great way to cap his, season. Whenever he's been a state qualifier, all 3 years, but not getting to the medal stand, to not be able to get to the medal stand, to get to second place finish. It's a great way to cap off a senior season. 215 pounds. One of the questions was Cole Weightman going to be able to go? He did come. He did weigh in, but he was injured, and he's unable to wrestle in this one. So he finishes with an 8th place medal. It's funny. What's funny is Logan Harmon of Armstrong wins over Jason Henderson in the quarterfinals by injury default. Harmon was actually winning in that match when it happened, but Henderson had injury default out. So we got to the 7th and 8th place match, and it was like, okay, you got 2 guys who've injury defaulted out. Who wins?
Yeah.
Henderson ends up getting the 7th place. Weightman with the 8th place, but Logan Harmon had himself one heck of a tournament. After getting that injury default win, he battles Josh Harkless, takes him to overtime before losing in the sudden victory, and then was able to beat Quinn Collins to get to the 3rd and 4th place match before dropping a tight 3-1 decision to Ryan Kaka.
Yeah, Harmon was the guy who really, being a state qualifier last year, we don't see a ton of Armstrong, in the WPIAL, but man, he had a good West Super Region, and then having that match with Harkless, and that match with Henderson, he was winning that match 3-1 at the time of injury. Henderson was clearly banged up, but Harmon was winning that match. He looked really good in doing so, and then he pushes Harkless, who was a West Super Region champion last week. He pushes him to the brink. Falls, in a tight match, 3-1 in sudden victory, but then battles back. It's so easy to lose that next match in the consolation round to a guy like Quinn Collins, who had a rest because he didn't have to beat Cole Weightman. He got a forfeit, so he's kind of fresh. And Harmon beats him 7-6 to get in that 3rd and 4th place match. I thought Harmon wrestled really, really well to end his career, and I think he's going to be a steal, wherever he ends up going to college.
285 pounds for the WPIAL, Isaiah Vance of Hempfield finishing in 3rd place. William McChesney of Greensburg-Salem in 4th. Dawson Dietz of Hampton finishes in 7th place. You look at the past. So William McChesney had a huge win in the quarterfinals, 7-6 over Cameron Booker of West Scranton. That puts him against a match against Nate Schoen of Selinsgrove, which we thought could happen. Selinsgrove gets the win 6-4. On the bottom half, Isaiah Vance, a fallen 110. Okay. He's looking dominant as ever. And then I think the surprise that a lot of people weren't expecting, Sean Kinney, the freshman from Nazareth, beats Vance 6-3. Kinney actually took Schoen to overtime, and that was a great match. Schoen ends up winning the state title, but I think Isaiah Vance just, kind of shocked by how Kinney wrestled him. Kinney gets the win. Vance comes down in the consolations, and he and McChesney wrestle again for about the 100th time. Vance wins 1-0 for the 3rd place finish. And for Dietz, he gets Russell Booker in the 7th and 8th place match and wins by fall to close out his senior season. But I think a little bit of disappointment for Isaiah Vance, despite a strong 3rd place finish.
Yeah, I mean, especially after that West Super Region where he beat Schoen convincingly, out wrestled him, strategized him, and I was very much looking forward to a potential rematch there. But Sean Kinney, a freshman, now get this, Sean Kinney, a freshman from Nazareth, did not wrestle a single match until the postseason. Never had a match. Nazareth only had one dual meet, and he didn't wrestle in it. Sean Kinney's first match as a Nazareth Blue Eagle was in the postseason. He loses in the East Super Region to Butka from West Scranton. he comes out here like a ball of fire, man, and he wrestled like a savvy veteran, beating Dawson Dietz, pins him. I think after that match, I was like, oh boy, could we have a good one here? And Isaiah Vance just looked like, I don't know if he was shocked by how well Kinney wrestled, or if he was just kind of, it's like he couldn't figure it out. And Kinney just looked so good. He didn't look like a freshman. Now, he was the first freshman since 2000, Adam Lepichlio from Susquehannock, to make the state finals as a freshman, and he nearly won a state title. Showed his lucky that he had the fortitude when he was smashed down on his stomach, and he was able to elevate up and hip heist over. I don't know how, because Kinney's like 285 pounds and an ounce. He's huge. I don't know how he did it, but and of course the ending is Isaiah Vance and Billy McChesney wrestling again for the 90th time in their career. But disappointing for Isaiah Vance, but hey, man, that's how it is. And he didn't look like this was going to ruin him. I think he's going to continue to improve, and he's going to go to Army West Point. He's going to get even better, I think.
When you look at the team side of it, and as we do, Jeff Mack Church is available to join us to talk about his state title. But as Jeff dials Mack up, Waynesburg wins the team portion, 100 points. Absolutely dominant. 3 champions, 2 second-place finishers, 5 finalists total, as well as a 5th-place finisher. Hempfield is the number 2 team with 57 points. And then in 4th place, Seneca Valley, 50.5.
Yeah.
What a great showing by the WPIAL, and obviously Waynesburg winning the team portion.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't just win it, they dominated it. Waynesburg just came out and just absolutely wrestled their butts off. And here's Mack Church right now, so we got him.
Mack, thanks for joining us, and congratulations on your state title.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Well, has it sunk in yet that you're a state champion?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. It was a pretty good tournament. It was all right in the finals. Wasn't my best performance, but I guess I got it done. So.
Well, let's before we talk about this tournament, want to kind of rewind a little bit to last year. Coming up a little bit short, having that tough, loss that you had on a caution call. To come back, you showed a lot of strength to be able to get back for 3rd place. But just talk about what you kind of learned from last year's state tournament to be able to apply to this year's.
Yeah, I'd say I learned just to not let kids keep it close with me like I did when that repost match, especially just get to my attacks, and I have to attack the whole time if I want to win. I can't stand around there and then have something happen like cautions or whatever it was, and then that's going to cost me the match. So try to open up earlier and get on my attack and score points. That was the main thing, which I kind of did, but still not where I wanted to be.
Well, you mentioned not where you wanted to be. Talk a little bit about your state performance. What kind of struggles did you have to not be able to open it up a little bit more?
Just kids tying me up pretty well. I mean, it's state tournament. It's nerves. Just you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything wrong, but you also want to. The state tournament is really not the one to open up at. If you want to open up, you got to open up before that, and then once you build confidence, open it up, then bring it on to the state tournament, which I think I'll definitely be able to do next year. But it is what it is. I still got it done, I guess, but definitely next year I want to dominate a lot more.
And Mac, last year 106, this year 120. We saw you at True Power. In fact, you had that win over Tyler Kasak, who's also a state champion. You opened up like crazy in that match, and I kind of agree with you where you said, the state tournament's not a time to try out some new moves. And True Power was. You opened up a lot there, and your whole season this year, it seemed like, hey, let's score more points and score more points. And even that match with Schindeldecker the week prior, I felt like you were in control of that match, even though it was tight. And same with the state finals. I mean, it just seemed like the momentum was going your way. Did you kind of feel like that? Did you feel like, hey, yeah, it's close, but I have the momentum going forward?
Yeah, I definitely felt like that. But I was also still worried, because you can have that momentum the whole time, and then, he gets a takedown, and then it's hard to come back on a kid like him. He's pretty fast, and he really was watching my right hand every time I went to club his head. I know he shoots a sweep real fast, so trying to watch that. But yeah, definitely, for sure.
And Mac, last year, obviously the disappointment of not getting that state title after, beating Vinnie Kilkiri in the regional finals, and now, coming back to take third. It seemed like that kind of motivated you, and we saw that in the off season. You were wrestling. It seemed like every weekend, you didn't hang your head down. You just kept on going forward and forward. Was that something that you kind of replayed in your head, this year? Is, hey, I don't want to feel that disappointment like I did last year. It seemed like you just kind of kept that like a motivating factor for you moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely did. I knew just keep working hard, and definitely after you win a state title, the pressure is off to next year. Just like go open up more. You've already won it, so just have fun out there. But yeah, definitely in the summer, I was like, I was just having fun. I love wrestling, so that's what I was doing, just competing every week.
Well, Matt, congratulations on winning your first state championship. It's been a lot of fun seeing you progress throughout the entire season. You still got a couple more weeks to go, right? You got a team championship to win for Waynesburg. We're excited to see how that plays out, but we really appreciate you joining us, and best of luck over the next couple weeks.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mac.
Thanks, Mac.
Yep.
Mac Church of Waynesburg, kind enough to join us on the show. Let's now turn over, Jeff, to AA wrestling action, where within the AA ranks, we had Cooper Hornack of Burrell at 106 pounds, and Hornack had a strong showing. Right out of the gates, he has a tough one with returning state champ Brandon Wenzel. He pulls out the 4-3 win. Then he gets Landon Bainey, a guy he went to ultimate tiebreaker with. Again, a strong 2-1 win. Going into the finals, I was thinking, hey, Louis Gill just had a big upset over Hunter Robeson, but he did beat Gill the last time they wrestled the previous week. You got to like Hornack here, but he drops that 6-2 decision. A tough day for Hornack. I should say a great tournament, a great day for Hornack, but a tough loss in the final.
And I don't think it's so much about Cooper Hornack, because Cooper Hornack wrestled really well. I think it was just Louis Gill was hot. He had the hot hand and he rolled with it. It's like you're at the craps table in Vegas. You got the hot hand, you just keep on going. Louis Gill just kept on going. He had that big win over Robeson. He had a tough match in the first round against Aiden Smith of Notre Dame Green Pond, 2-0. Louis Gill was just wrestling really well. Cooper Hornack just happened to catch Louis Gill on a really, really good day. And Hornack, I thought, wrestled great against Brandon Wenzel, who's a sophomore returning state champion. And even in the semifinals, I thought Hornack was Bainey was, I thought Bainey looked great in his first match against Chase Burke. He beat him up 6-2. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is Bainey going to upset Hornack and make it to the finals? And we're going to have a Louis Gill Landon Bainey match. But, Hornack, hey, you got to be happy with where he wrestled. And, yeah, he beat Gill before and he loses to him this time. But, he left it all on the mat. I mean, again, I don't think it was so much the way he wrestled. I think it was just more so Louis Gill was really hot at the right time and was able to get that championship.
You know what I love about Cooper Hornack? He's like a grinder, right? He just gets it done. There's not anything where I can say, wow, he does, this or that, but he no matter what, in a tough position, he's going to get out of it and he's going to be able to pull out the win. And that's why I thought, honestly, he could even still come back against Louis Gill, even when he was put on his back, because of just how well he's wrestled to that point. And just excited to see how he plays out the rest of his career, because it was just an incredible freshman season for Cooper Hornack. 113 pounds for the WPIAL is Chris Vargo of Bentworth. He finishes in third place, dropped a tough 6-4 decision to Gavin Bradley of Athens in the quarterfinal, and then wins 3 straight matches, including the rubber match against Cohen Bainey, a Bald Eagle. Beats him 2-0 in the overtime to win third place.
I was super impressed with Chris Vargo. I mean, you talk about the ups and he was on a roller coaster this year, in my opinion. He was on a roller coaster of, not having a ton of matches in his season to start, and then gets in the postseason, has some big wins, has some tough losses. He looked great in the region, then not so great in the super region. Has that tough opening round loss to Gavin Bradley, who we knew that was going to be a tough draw. I mean, Gavin Bradley's he's a junior, 2-time state medalist. And Vargo was right there with him. Chris was battling him. But for him to battle back, he gets that pin over Schweitzer from Notre Dame Green Pond under minute, grinds out a really good match with Bobby Gardner from South Williamsport, who's I thought one of the best wrestlers in the state this year. And then Vargo then gets that rubber match with Cohen Bainey. I was super impressed with him, because you could have easily packed it in, a week ago after that super region, but he didn't. He wrestled really good, and I think that's just a testament to where he's at in his progression as a freshman. Chris Vargo is going to win a state title before this is all said and done. He may even win a couple, and I think that showed, this weekend here in Hershey for him to battle back to third.
120 pounds. The WPIAL does not have a wrestler here, but just want to kind of get your thoughts, Jeff. 3 nationally ranked guys all in the top 10. Brett Unger of Notre Dame Green Pond, who I think no one was picking to win. I think it was Gibson or Steen that everybody was going with in a potential rematch. But Unger gets it done, a win over Steen and a win over Gibson, including a fall that many are like, did it actually happen? Yeah, that was a fall. Just talk a little bit, your thoughts on those 3 superstars.
I mean, it was wild. It was wild and crazy, and it was just nuts. And, I think people seriously doubted Brent Unger for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but he had a win over Gary Steen last year. They split matches. It was a tight match in the semifinals last year. So we kind of expected, and I tweeted this out, that everyone expected that Steen Unger match to be tight. No one expected Unger and Mason Gibson to end up in a fall in favor of Unger. I think it was just a different matchup style for Mason Gibson that he wasn't used to. And, I don't think he's, been in a position before where he's getting turned and, maybe he didn't know how to belly out on a tilt and got pinned. But, yeah, what a great weekend for Brent Unger. I mean, just an incredible for him to do what he did. He was deserving of the OW.
I agree with you completely. You had to give it. I think you had to give it to whoever won that bracket with 3 nationally ranked guys. 126 pounds, Joey Fisher of South Park gets to the top of the podium, ends up in first place with a 3-2 decision in the finals over Scott Johnson of Muncie. His tight one was in the semifinals with Gable Strickland. He owes to a tiebreaker before winning the match 2-1. But Joey Fisher, who finished second last year, gets his gold medal.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Fisher was the favorite here, no doubt about it, but we knew it wasn't going to be easy. I mean, there was a lot of state medals here, Gable Strickland being one of them. He's a Lock Haven recruit. Joey's going to Clarion. That was a tight match, and you saw Joey have a lot of emotion after winning that match because he knew that was a big win. He's back in the state finals after that win. He knows that state gold was within his grasp, and I never really doubted him against Scott Johnson of Muncie, who's a sophomore. I just, Fisher has that it factor. But man, like you look at how deep this weight was. Gabe Gramley, state medals. Connor Saylor, state medals. Scott Johnson was a state qualifier. Gable Strickland, a guy who has 2 state medals to his name. So, Fisher knew this wasn't going to be easy. And I wasn't expecting to come in here and blow people out. But, he grinded it out and he got the job done, and he got his first state title after going 2nd and 4th in 2 previous trips.
Fisher's at practice right now. I won't finish up till after 8:30. So we're going to grab Fisher a little bit later on the show, but we will be joined by Joey before we wrap things up. 132 pounds, your champion, Jackson Arrington, and he made it look easy and getting a 10-3 win over a talented Brandon Chiletsos of Notre Dame Green Pond. Kyle McCullum of Beth Center, your lone WPIAL representative here, and he finishes in 8th place.
Yeah, and, Kyle McCullum is just a guy who, not saying we were surprised to see him here, but man, he had a great postseason, and for him to get to where he was, he had a tough match in that 7th and 8th place match against Connor Heckman, and that was a really tight match. It was a 1-0 win. Connor Heckman, I mean, this was a deep weight class. Connor Heckman was a guy who lost to Zach Whitmer 5-4, so he was right there with with those guys, and finishing 8th in this weight there's no shame in that because man, it was deep. When you look down the line here, there was a lot of guys that have a lot of credentials under their names already, and he was in the mix with those guys.
138 pounds, Ian Oswald of Burrell. We see him and Brock McMillan do battle one more time, and unfortunately Oswald does not get the win. McMillan gets the 1-0 decision. Oswald finishing in 2nd place. Just he had one of the toughest matches for him was in that quarterfinal round. Connor Herrera of Montgomery, a guy you talked about this matchup before the tournament, Jeff, and they go to ultimate tiebreaker. Oswald gets the win, but then after that, a tight one over Eric Aldifer before dropping it to Brock McMillan.
Yeah, I mean, it just like you kind of felt it. I don't know. You could kind of feel that McMillan was was going to come away with a win. You know, he just, I don't know. He has Ian figured out in some way, shape, or form, because it's not you know, I think we talked about this, or Eric and I talked about it when we were talking about the finals, and it's not for a lack of good coaching. I mean, Burrow's got some of the best in the business. You know, it's just, man, McMillan he just had it. You know, he's had it against Ian, and you know, you feel for him because Ian's been super close so many times before. You know, ending just a terrific career that he has. You know, 4 times a state medalist. You know, he's gonna do very big things on and off the mat moving forward. I think, you know, he's gonna contribute to society in a good way. He's gonna contribute on the mat when he you know, ends up at Brown, and I think you know, we're fortunate to watch him.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 guys that my heart just really goes out to right now. Dylan Chappell with Seneca Valley, which we talked about, and Ian Oswald of Burrell. 2 guys that I think very deserving of being state champions and coming up just short.
Yeah, I agree with you.
145 pounds for the WPIAL, Kenny Dushek of Blackhawk. He finishes in 5th place, dropped a 5-1 decision in the quarters to Patrick Edmondson, and then coming back into consolations, he gets a 3-2 win over Gill before dropping a 5-2 decision to Caden Berger of Reynolds in a rematch, and then he wins 11-4 for 5th over Warshall.
Yeah, and this was a deep weight class. My gosh. I mean, you look at the guys here, Higley, you know, state medalist going to George Mason, Levi Haynes, one of the top in the nation. You know, Edmondson, I think, kind of surprised a few people. He really had a good tournament, finishing 3rd in the East Super Region. You know, he beats Dushek in that opening round match, and you know, comes back and is able to get 3rd place. So, you know, Dushek had a great career. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, he's been in some big-time matches. So, yeah, it's not an improvement from last year, but this was a really deep weight class, so there's nothing really to be, you know, upset about.
Yeah, and you know what, to be honest, I mean, you look at OW and how 120 pounds it goes to Unger for everything he did. If it wasn't for him, I think you could make the argument of either Jackson Arrington or Levi Haynes, because Levi Haynes had 2 majors and a fall, and in my opinion was one of the deepest weight classes in AA at 145.
I totally agree with you.
152 pounds, your champion, Grant Mckay from Laurel. He wins the title with a 1-0 decision over Dalton Gimber of Hamburg. He also had a pair of wins in the first round over Alan Alexander by major decision and a 4-2 win over Michael Dugan of Boiling Springs to get to that point. But Grant Mckay, we've been talking about him all season and how strong he's been looking, and he just continued and was, although a couple tight matches, as expected in a state tournament, he looks solid and was never in any doubt.
Yeah, I mean, that finals match, you know, it was 1-0, but it just felt like, you know, it was Grant's match. It was his match. You know, he's so tough from top. My gosh. And, you know what opened my eyes to him, we saw him at the Midwinter Mayhem. You know, he beats Ty Linsenbigler, and you know, he just looked really good, and you're thinking, okay, can he keep this up? And he really did. I feel like he was like a freight train that just kept on going, and it wasn't stopping. You know, he's just had such a great year this year, and you know, 52 was a deep weight class, even without Eric Gibson here. You know, there were some pretty big names here with you know, Gimber, Michael Dugan's a guy who I think was right in the mix here. You know, Dugan comes back to take 3rd, so. I think, you know, Grant Mckay, especially after last year at North Allegheny being a state qualifier, one of the top freshmen in the state, and now, you know, to be a state champion, you know, it's just, you know, huge progression for him.
Boy, could you imagine if you know, Gibson was eligible and could have wrestled here against Mckay for a couple of weeks? I mean, 3 weeks we would have seen that matchup.
Would have been a lot of fun. It would have been a lot of fun to watch those guys wrestle, and we might have to set that up. As I say that, we got Grant on the phone here. Grant, how you doing tonight, bud? I knew it was too,
Well-
it was too good. It was too good to be true. It was too good to be true.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
you know, things were just going so smooth, and then all of a sudden Grant Mckay comes on and breaks the internet. You know, everyone's watching, so that's why we broke the internet. Grant, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good. And you know, talk a little bit about your season. You know, we saw you at NA last year, and you know, you were a state qualifier there. Obviously, you know, it's a move that you know you had to make to go to Laurel, and all of a sudden here you are, you know, winning a state title. And you know, just talk about that feeling of winning a state championship.
It was a very special feeling, and because of COVID and you know other reasons, there wasn't much competition last spring and summer. I mean, Super 32 was the first event I had before the season. It gave me a lot of time to reflect on last year's losses. Plenty of sleepless nights, and I think COVID was a blessing in disguise, and I think it helped me become a better wrestler.
And you talked about the Super 32. You had a great Super 32 this year. You know, I mean, you know, my good friend Rob Waltko would always, you know, he gives me all the updates on you. You know, he's always look, you know, Grant beat this guy, and you know, at Super 32, you were wrestling really hot and really well. You know, that had to give you a lot of confidence, like you said, because COVID, you weren't getting a whole lot of matches.
Oh yeah, it definitely gave me plenty of confidence, and I thought for a while that I was good enough to be competing with these guys, but it was nice to actually show that. So.
And you talk about the state tournament here. You know, it was a lot different than you were last year, right? Not only there's no fans, but you know your different classification. You have a good match in the first round, 9-0, but then you know Michael Dugan, tough match there, 4-2, but you in control. In the state finals, you're able to ride out Dalton Gimber, a senior from Hamburg. You know, what was it like being in your first state finals, and you know, did you feel like you were in control of that match?
I would say I thought I was definitely in control of that match. I was definitely, you could probably tell I was pretty tensed up. In my head, before the match, I was trying to keep my head away from wrestling, but you know, it got to me a little bit. It was the state finals, and in my head, I was just thinking, you know, I've been working 365 days to accomplish this goal, and there are 6 minutes ahead of me. I better make it count.
Wow.
And I was a little tight going into that match, but in the third period when he picked bottom, I was quite confident I could ride him out.
Yeah.
And you're able to get that state gold. Yeah, you talked about the changeover, right, from North Allegheny to Laurel.
Yes.
Talk a little bit just about the postseason difference too, right, from wrestling from AAA to AA.
Oh, there's quite a bit of difference. You know, having a super regional tournament, and well, that was for everybody, but that was different because typically AA they have a break, and I mean I thought I competed very well, but yeah, it was a bit different.
And you know, now that we kind of missed the story, so I guess we're gonna have to say it again. I'm sorry, Grant, because Jeff, you know, somehow got disconnected for a minute. But
that's all right. That's all right.
You talked about you know, having it sink in a little bit, being a state champion. So tell Jeff, because I love the story you mentioned with your teammate.
Yeah, it definitely took a little bit. It felt unreal at first, and later on that night, I was in the hotel room with my teammate and best friend Colin Bartley, and he was sitting there, and he's like, "No, man, you're a state champion." And I was that's when it first started to really kick in. I was like, "Wow, you know, pretty crazy."
That's awesome. Well, hey, congratulations, Grant, on winning a state championship. It's been a lot of fun watching you this season, and we look forward to seeing you come back to defend it next year.
Yes, thank you. It's always nice talking to you guys.
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate it.
Have to join us on the show.
Greg, I don't know what happened there, man. I don't. It's like you hung up on me.
It was, well, you know what? It's happened probably like maybe 4 or 5 times now, where once we get the guest on, you freeze. And then like all of a sudden, like you're frozen for a couple of minutes on my end, and then you start talking, and then your picture starts to show up. So I'm like, okay, that must be what's happening here. Then all of a sudden I see you calling into me. I'm like, whoa, wait a second, what's happening?
Yeah.
So, but no, it's all good. 160 pounds. This was a deep weight class too. You know, a lot of talented wrestlers. AJ Corado, we talked about how, you know, let's see if he can open up a little bit, because he's a lot of tough matches. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's tight or not. AJ Corado is going to find a way to win, and that's what he did here in the state tournament. And, tiebreaker decision over Nolan Lear, a 3-1 win over Bailey Gimber, and then the fall in overtime over Avery Bassett to win the state title.
I mean, Hollywood couldn't script this any better, right? I mean, this is a classic AJ Corado wrestling right here, man. I mean, like the match with Nolan Lear. I mean, are you kidding me? And we knew this. We knew coming into it that this was going to be one of the best quarterfinal matches. And of course, Nolan Lear, for his effort, he finishes third. He loses that first match, comes all the way back for third. So that just shows you how tough that match really was for him. Bailey Gimber 3-1. I thought he looked really good in the semifinals, and I thought this is, he's going to turn it on in the finals. And then Avery Bassett. Avery Bassett has a win over Cole Spencer, so that shows you where he's at. Avery Bassett was third in the state last year. AJ second. AJ, of course, in typical Burl and AJ Corado fashion, Avery Bassett goes in for a shot, and AJ's like, you know what? I'm just going to pancake you to the back. I'm going to pin you. I'm going to win a state title. And, you talk about reactions, man. That was probably one of the better reactions to it, just seeing AJ and his coaches, Isaac Greeley and Josh Shields and all the guys there. And it was just incredible to see. And, that's a lot of hard work paid off. And because AJ's taken his lumps. He's taken some losses, and, he's been in some very close matches. But, man, he looked good in doing that.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And I love the way you mentioned it, that pancake to finish it. It's like I think it's one of the Chris Como type moves right there to be able to get that. And it was a great job by Corado to win the gold. And now let's see if we can get AJ on to talk a little bit about it. We just had him on a couple of weeks ago after his big win in the regions. Eric and I had a chance to talk to him, and now joining us now, here he is, AJ Corado. AJ, congratulations on winning the state gold.
Thank you.
Well, you fell just short a year ago in the division as a silver medalist. Has it sunk in that, hey, I finally got my gold medal?
Yeah, it sunk in immediately after the match, really. I mean, I had so much adrenaline. I started running. I didn't even know where I was running to, honestly.
Yeah, you did. You just ran. I saw that. The camera was panning on you, and you're like, right. You ran into the medal stand. I'm like, no, you got to hold on. You've been through this routine 3 times before. You got to wait for the next class, to finish before you were just like running. That was crazy.
Well, and then AJ from there, just winning that state gold. Talk about last year. You finished up just short, right? Finishing as a silver medalist. What did you take away from last year's state final to be able to apply it here?
It's like, I would say it's like hard work in the practice room, but that's kind of a cliche at this point. It's more like experience on the mat and like seeing different positions, and I don't know, just become more experienced on the mat, like wrestling better wrestlers and stuff like that, and seeing positions open up. Going
into the tournament, you had a deep weight class, and we were talking about last week, you had a lot of tight matches, in the super regions to get to the final. And it's like, hey, if he wants to win this, he might have to open it up a little bit. Didn't need to, right? You did what you needed to do to win. But going into it, did you talk a lot with your coaches about those tight matches and certain situations and what may happen?
I think I get into a lot of tight matches because like of my ability to just shut other people's offenses down. And that's kind of where my style is. So when I get into those matches where kids aren't able to take as many shots and like let me get in on my like reattacks, the matches tend to be a lot closer than like say matches at like the WPIAL level and stuff like that, where kids are just firing off attacks and everything from many positions. So yeah, like at the higher levels, we know that the matches are going to be tight, and I've been in those matches for like 3 weeks straight. So I mean, I was ready for that during those matches. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of lived in those matches, right? You've been in a lot of those matches. We saw you in state finals, kind of similar situation. Nolan Lear, that first match, we knew that was going to be a good one. Man, that came down to the wire. That had to feel good, though, to get that kind of, breath of fresh air, because we saw a lot of guys lose in that quarterfinal round. You didn't let that phase you. You kept focused, so it had to feel good, although it was close, to kind of get that monkey off your back a little bit and say, you know what, all right, let's move forward.
Mm-hmm. All the first round matches at the state tournament this year, of course, are going to be good matches because it's the top 8 guys in the state. So, you go into the tournament ready to wrestle like it's the state finals, because all those kids that are there could potentially be state finalists, and you never know with who you're going to wrestle.
Well, AJ, congratulations on winning a state title. It's been a lot of fun watching you, and you guys have 2 more weeks to go as far as team-wise. You guys are back at it here in just a little over a week to try to win a state gold as a team, and then you obviously have, obviously Classic and then future endeavors from there. So congratulations, AJ, and we look forward to much more from you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, AJ. Appreciate it.
See ya.
AJ Corado kind enough to join us on the show, and let's hop to 172 pounds where the WPI actually before I mention we didn't mention this, Jeff, so I also want to give it a quick mention. Oleg Melnick of Carleton at 160 also coming in with the 8th place finish. 172 pounds, the WPIAL here had Rune Lawrence of Fraser, a freshman, winning the state gold. Ethan Barr of McGuffey also in this weight class. He finishes in 6th place. But you look at Lawrence's run after a fall in the first match. He has a tight 1-0 win over Ben Hubbard of Palisades, and he gets a rematch once again with Mckay Duval. Again, it was tight, but Lawrence wins 9-7.
My God, I mean, those guys could wrestle 100 times, and I think Rune would end up finding a way, pull a rabbit out of a hat, and get a win, man. He looked good. He looked good in that match, and it's so impressive for I think we kind of take it for granted. He's a freshman winning at 172 pounds. It's like I haven't really seen that level of dominance since probably Cody Weirchot, as from Charleroi at the time at 152 pounds, beating Travis McKillop and Rune Lawrence he is so far advanced for a freshman, and I think that's a testament to to his coach Buck Watkins and his club coaches at Quest, and I think Rune is just a special talent, and I think that just showed here at the state tournament because he won in different ways. He gets that fall over Ethan Gush, grinds out a 1-0 win over Ben Halbert, who's a very good wrestler, but he finds a way to win. In the Mckay Duval match, a little bit different than the other weeks. He kind of goes up and then lets him, and then he comes back, he gets thrown, and I just think, doesn't matter what you throw at him. You throw the kitchen sink at him, he's going to find a way to win.
Yeah, and he certainly showed that, and I think it happened in every way possible in the 3 weeks against Duval, right? He had he fell behind, came back, and then he got put on his back, and then found a way to come back, and then this one again, back and forth. No matter what, he finds a way to get it done and gets the W, and it was awesome to watch him throughout this entire postseason just find ways to win. And Rune Lawrence kind enough to join us now. Rune, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, congratulations, Rune, on winning a state championship. As a freshman, has it really sunk in for you?
Yeah, for the most part, it has.
Okay. Is part of that because I got to ask you, I mean, off the top, you got the state title. Thane didn't get it his freshman year. Have you already rubbed it in his face a little bit?
No, not really.
Well, talk a little bit about your season. We were talking about the postseason, especially against Mckay Duval. 3 times you wrestled him, and each time it seemed like you found a way to get it done. Falling behind early, coming back. Just talk about some of those matchups you had and finding ways to beat him every single time.
Yeah, they were all close matches. I think my conditioning was just a little bit better in the third period. He seemed to maybe gas a little bit, but not to the point where you could just break him at all. I mean, he's a real fundamental wrestler. He's really funky, so he's good all around. It took a lot of offensive moves to get him to react, and then get my offense to score some points.
Yeah, and Rune, your kind of coming out party was the PIAA tournament, right? You make it to the finals, you beat Sammy Starr, you get a match with Dylan Walker. That had to kind of build your confidence for this postseason, because it was a grind of a postseason, but you had been in tough matches before. You took a loss in the PIAA finals. I feel like that probably prepared you for the super region and the state tournament going forward. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
And just talk about just your preparation coming into this, because you're preparing for a guy that you've wrestled multiple times before. How do you prepare for someone like that?
Just kind of, we ain't reinventing the wheel. Just kind of did what I've always done. Maybe just getting some fine tuning on a little bit here and there, of maybe some shots and setups. But other than that, just kind of working on conditioning.
And we talked about your finals matches, but also your semifinals, right? Against Ben Hauver, you get a 1-0 win. Again, just finding a different way to get the victory. You rode him out for the entire period. Just talk a little bit about that match and what you saw and why you felt like, this attack was the best way to go about it against Hauver.
Yeah, I didn't get on my offense at all, really, that match. I was in a couple shots, but I just never got the chance to finish them. Yeah, I got out easily. And then just couldn't get a takedown. And then I went to the third period, and I knew he picked bottom on pretty decent riding. So I knew it was going to be a hard ride, but we got it done.
Well, the one thing you got done, too, was tossing your coach once you won the state gold. Tell us the exchange and how that went down.
Yeah, I was messing with him all throughout the season. He said he was going to come up and hug me. I said, do that, and I'll throw you. And we were kind of just joking around about it. And I don't know. I mean, I told him it was coming, so.
He should have known it was coming, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was a perfect ending to it. It was a great freshman season for you. Congratulations on winning a state title, and we're excited to see you come back next year to defend your gold.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rune.
Thanks to Rune Lawrence for joining us on the show. Let's
go
to 100.
Very like Corey Clark, Tom Brands type thing, at the NCAAs, and I don't know. Rune may have done it better.
I tell you what, the landing was perfect too by Buck. I mean, it was just outstanding overall. I mean, just from the throw all the way, it looked like it was planned, honestly, and the fact that it wasn't, that's pretty comical.
Yeah.
189 pounds for the WPIAL Trent Schulteis of Freedom. He finishes with a third place finish. Ended up dropping a 10-4 decision to eventual champion Kale Krebs, and then coming back with a pair of wins over Cole Karpinski as well as Wesley Barnes of Southern Columbia to finish in third place.
What a way to end your career for Trent Schulteis. I mean, the guy has just been in some wars and some battles, and we talked about it all the way through his freshman year, and just finding ways to get to the state finals and earn state medals. And you look at the 189-pound bracket. It was super loaded. I mean, it was just, and this is without Patrick Kutchember, right? I mean, this was a super loaded bracket. He beats Bryce Enders, loses the Krebs, but then just battles back hard, has that tough win against Karpinski. But the best match for him was that tiebreaker win against Wesley Barnes. Just a phenomenal end to his career, man. I'm excited to see Trent at the next level.
And then he finishes second in the section, third in the WPIAL. But then third in the states. So that just tells you, 189 was deep 133 in WPIAL, but just he really, I feel like once he had the loss to Kutchember coupled with the loss to Kemper, I feel like that was a wake-up call for Trent, and it got him ready to go to deliver on the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yep.
215 pounds, Dayton Pitzer of Mount Pleasant gets his second gold medal, and it was never really in any doubt. I mean, he was just been phenomenal. To me, he's probably been one of, if not the most dominant WPIAL wrestler, AA and AAA this season. He just really took it to guys all season long. A major decision, and a 6-1 win over a solid Dylan Bennett in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Bennett's a returning state runner-up, and then we saw them wrestle at the Powerade, and I thought Dayton looked even better this time around than he did previously when they wrestled at the Powerade tournament. So, Dayton Pitzer, the adversity that he's going through, you win a state title your freshman year, you're injured all of your sophomore year. It's so tough to come back from an injury. And not only that, but he's at a weight class where, it's not his natural fit. He's really a 95 pounder, but he's wrestling 215, and he looks good at doing it. And I would agree with you, Greg. Him being one of the most dominant wrestlers in the WPIAL is definitely up there, for both AA and AAA. I think he is right there with the best of them. The future is bright for this young man, and he's a great guy. I want to say kid. He's not a kid, right? He's a great young man, and I can't wait to see him back on the mat again as a senior.
Yeah, and it was really almost a little bit sad in a way that he wasn't able to wrestle last year, because I think he would have been a potential 4-timer for sure, especially how he finished freshman year and how he wrestled this year. Right. I don't see how anybody may have been able to beat him last year. So we'll see if Dayton can join us on the call here.
I know he was working out. I think he was at Coach Waller's. So, I mean, You know, I mean, you win a state championship. I guess that's why they're state champions and I'm not. Because, you know, if I win a state championship, I'm probably not gonna go right to a workout. But Dayton Pitzer, man, I love it. I love the mentality that he has, and you know, there he is.
Dayton, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, congratulations on winning a state title. You win after a year off from injury. Just talk about how tough last year was for you to not be able to wrestle.
Yeah, it was tough, but I have a great support system. So through that time, I wasn't able to wrestle, but I think I got mentally stronger and I grew in other areas in life. So through that time period, it was tough not being able to wrestle, but definitely thankful I was able to wrestle this year and came out top at the end.
And you had a great season throughout. I was mentioning to Jeff, I thought you were one of the most dominant wrestlers throughout the entire WPIAL, both AA and AAA. Just such an outstanding season for yourself. Talk about that state tournament. Did you feel like, you know, even though it's been a year away, you know, winning a state gold as a freshman kind of made you feel confident and more loose going at it this year?
Yeah. I definitely I was confident going into it, but I think everybody before a wrestling match, so I definitely had to calm my nerves a little bit and just do what I know how to do. And I mean, I practice a lot and work hard, so it was just going out and wrestling to my potential.
The weight change that they had this year, going to 189 and 215, I think it affected you probably the most, because you probably lost that weight of 195 where you probably would have been had there not been that weight change.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely a decision at the beginning of the year. I was weighing like 205 and I decided to go 215, and my weight certification wouldn't let me go to 189. And I wasn't planning on cutting, but towards the end of the year, I was working out a lot. I weighed in at 193 for states.
Oh my God.
So I was definitely light, but it was nice not cutting any weight, just going into practice and focus on learning and not having to cut weight.
And Dayton, talk about your relationship with Coach Waller. I mean, we saw it, you know, throughout the Super Region, and you know he's always talking to you, and always, you know, you're sitting down and talking to him. It just seems like a really strong relationship that you have with him. In fact, I believe you got a workout in there tonight, and it's just like, you know, talk about that relationship and how much he's been an influence on you.
Yeah, I'm thankful for all my coaches, but definitely Coach Waller, especially. Yeah, he helps me with everything on and off the mat, and I'm super grateful for him.
And if you could compare the two state championships as a freshman, you know, maybe surprising a few people this year, you know, you're not really surprising anyone. The bullseye's on your back. How would you compare you know, winning the state titles as compared to a freshman to a junior? Like, you know, was it a little bit less? Were you less excited because you're like, I've done this before? Or is it kind of like, hey, I came back from a year of adversity and I got that title?
Yeah, I think my freshman year, I was kind of the underdog being so young, and it definitely felt great to win. But then having that year off and coming back this year, it felt great too. Not kind of being off that year and kind of just proving to myself and others that I'm still like the same wrestler, and I didn't get worse in that year. So they both felt great.
Well, Dayton, you're obviously heading into your senior season. Have you started to look at some colleges? You know, what, where are you starting to look at?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough with Corona not being able to take visits and stuff, but I've definitely been talking to some, and it's been fun, and I'm excited next couple weeks really get serious in the process and start to narrow it down.
Well, we're excited to see what decision you end up making, but first and foremost, it's been really exciting to watch you this season, and congratulations on winning a second state title, and we look forward to seeing you come back to defend it for your senior season.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Dayton.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dayton.
Thank you.
Dayton Pitzer kind enough to join us on the show. And one last weight class, Jeff, 285 WPIAL without any wrestlers in this weight class, but any thoughts on this weight?
Yeah, I mean Nathan Taylor just he looked really good. We saw him at True Power wrestling against Nick Feldman, and Nick Feldman again, another guy who Dayton Pitzer wrestled twice this year and lost to, and Nate Taylor just he got the job done, man. Riley Robel, super underrated sophomore, I think, coming up from 182 to heavyweight, and I thought he looked great. He was in that match with Nate Taylor, but Nathan Taylor just. Yeah, he proved that he's a heavyweight, and he was one that was gonna, push it with these other bigger guys.
The team portion, Burrell ends up third in the state with 53 points, 1 point away from second place when that was Montoursville with 54. Notre Dame Green Pond finishes with 59 points to win it all. Burrell with 3 total wrestlers in it, 3 finalists, a champion, and 2 runners-up. 53 total points again for Burrell to finish in third. We got one more guest still to go, Jeff. We got Joey Fisher from South Park. Let's see if we can grab Joey on the phone and chat with him before we wrap things up from what's been a great season for the WPIAL once again, as expected.
It's a weird season because we still got some wrestling left, right?
That's right.
We got the team tournament, so it's like we kind of forget that, and then we have the classic coming up here, and Joey was probably doing his hair. Joey's always worried about his hair.
Nah, I just came from practice.
Yeah, he's practicing for Drake Ayala. That's he's getting ready for the classic is what he's doing. I like it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, Joey, congratulations on winning a state gold after coming up just short last year. Has it sunk in that, hey, I finally got that gold medal?
Yeah. I mean, it's always a good feeling, end on top, undefeated season. So it was pretty cool, to just check that one off the bucket list. But now it's just on to, bigger and better things.
What did you take away from your season last year where, you come up just shy, finishing as a silver medalist? What did you take from that to be able to get to the top of the podium this year?
There was a lot. I mean, I lost last year, and I think my mentality is even tougher right now since I just won. And I think that's because of losing last year. And it really just taught me that, there's always going to be someone out there that's either A, working to catch you, or B, working to stay ahead of you. And right now I'm the one working to stay ahead. Last year I was the one working to catch up. So it's really, about putting a lot of hard work in, regardless of where you stand.
You had a deep weight class and one where, you ended up getting the win in the semifinals by tiebreaker over Gable Strickland. In fact, I was doing the radio broadcast and your mom was sitting right below us and I could hear her saying, "Don't do that to me again, Joey." But just talk a little bit about that match and how, how tight it was and being able to pull that one out.
Yeah. I was talking to my coaches afterwards. I would have liked to have generated a lot more offense. I got on his legs a couple times. A few of those times that I did, I was very close to scoring. So I think that I definitely should have ripped off some more shots. But, when you're in a situation like that, it's a lot easier said than done. Real high intensity. The pressure is really on. But, those tight ones like that, being able to ride in those big situations is very crucial, especially when that pressure is on. But yeah, my mom's always going crazy, especially in those matches. She doesn't even watch half the time. She covers her face.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope she doesn't cover her face for your match at the Classic. And you talked about going on to bigger and better things. You checked off a lot of boxes this year. You get a Powerade title. You get the state title. How awesome would it be to end that, winning at the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic against a guy who, is one of the tops in the nation?
Yeah, he's ranked number 1 right now at 126. He's tough. He's got a good gas tank, headed out to Iowa. So this is basically like the top of the line. It doesn't get a whole lot better than this. So it's going to be, a great way to go out with a bang. And I'm training hard. I'm sure he is as well. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give it my everything. He's going to give it his everything. It's going to be a war. Hopefully I'll come out on top.
Well, Joey, congratulations on winning a state championship. We really appreciate you hopping on with us. We also just enjoyed chatting with you throughout your high school career. It's been a lot of fun, and best of luck, not only again in the Classic, but also as you head off to college as well.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys always having me. Lots of love.
And don't forget to give Brock Zacharel take him down a whole bunch, all right?
Yeah, that's light work. I got that.
I hope Brock hears this. I love it. Thanks,
Yeah,
Joey.
no problem. Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thanks. Well, Jeff, we did it. We got all the wrestlers on.
2 hours, an hour and 57 minutes, man. We're tip of a cap to us. How about that too? Greg, congratulations on everything. We've had a good year, and we got more shows coming up. We're going to do a show on the team tournament. We're going to do a show on the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, which is going to have a whole lot of good WPIAL talent, both on the USA team or the PA team and the WPIAL team. So looking forward to it. But thank you for a great year.
Yeah, you as well. And yeah, typically this is it, right? We wrap things up, and then I don't see you for 9 months, but now I get to see you for a couple more weeks. We got we'll definitely recap the Team State Championships for sure if we don't preview it, and then we're also gonna have the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, preview, recap, and talking all about it. So we still got a couple more shows to go. Just so everybody is aware, the Team Championships, they get started on Monday, March 22nd. They're hosted by the top team of the pairing, and then the quarterfinal round is on Wednesday, March 24th, also hosted by the team at the top of the bracket. And then the semis and the finals are both at Cumberland Valley for AA and AAA on Saturday, March 27th. So the team championship's still happening. And then the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, that is kicking off on Friday, April 2nd. At 4 o'clock, we have the WPIAL versus Maryland, and 6 o'clock, we have the Pennsylvania team versus the United States. Jeff, everybody's asking, when's those rosters getting released?
They're gonna be coming out very soon, and a lot of kids that we've offered, we've sent out, offer letters to, and some of them have been tweeting it out. So there's some out there, but we're gonna have an official announcement coming very soon of the full teams for the WPIAL and for Team Pennsylvania. If you want to see the Team USA, you can go to PAPowerWrestling.com, click on the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic logo. It'll take you right to the new website, and you can see the list of the Team USA guys. And man, it's going to be, it never gets easier for Team Pennsylvania, man. It's going to be tough, and WPIAL is going to have a tough go against Maryland, but they're going to bring it. It's going to be okay.
Should be a lot of fun, and we're going to break it all down for you here on WarUp and throughout PA Power as we continue through, as we have a couple more exciting things to watch here before we put a close on this high school wrestling season. So I want to thank all the WPIAL wrestlers who joined us here on the show, and congratulations to each and every one of them. It's been a lot of fun watching them this season. For Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in to WarUp on the WPIAL.